Okie dokie. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Worship Guitar Show. It's great to see you. We are in for a hopefully very informative evening. Um, I hope, first of all, everybody's had a great day. Why don't you do me a favor and jump in on the chat and let me know not only where you're coming from, but tell me a little bit about your day.
Okie dokie.
Oh no 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 no
Well,
no no
hello,
no no no
ladies
no
and
no no no
gentlemen,
no no
and
no no no.
welcome to.
Yeah, no, there's going to be none of that. All right, so in any case, first of all, check this out. Hello, Jim. Great to see you. Hello, Brett. Hello, Ramiro. Great to see you guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. We are going to be talking about 5 things that every worship guitar player should know, but not just every worship guitar player should know. Arguably, every guitar player should know, but specifically within the framework of worship. There's all the stuff that we should know, and then there's kind of the reality of what happens on Sunday, right? And arguably kind of the other days in between. And it spills over into a range of behaviors that, again, I sometimes call it the Sunday cycle. And it's sometimes said with love and sometimes it's not, honestly. If we're going to get real, and I'd love to do that tonight, there's a certain amount about, again, and first of all, if by chance, hello, Shane, good to see you. If by chance you don't play at church, but you're just hanging out, you can apply this to anything that you do with the guitar. And if you play at church or will be playing at church sometime soon, ish, or whatever that might be, here's the thing is that every quote unquote gig, and not that I think of church as being a gig, but every instance like that is really an opportunity for us to show up and either bring our best or less than that. And so, how do we prepare to bring our best? I mean, it's an interesting thing. With a little bit of backstory, as a guitar player, as many of you would know, I studied with Joe Satriani. So, like at age 15, like pretty much every Saturday morning, at I don't know, I think it was 11 o'clock or whatever it is. I got, if I didn't practice, my backside got tanned by Mr. Satriani. He had very little patience for the unpracticed. And so, the other thing is that, I'm a highly motivated learner. And so, because of that, I've always had a hunger for information. I had a hunger for knowledge. So in so doing, I'm naturally, I should say, predicated towards kind of having a little bit more information in theory than I need to do something. Much of the time. And so going into a Sunday morning is really kind of an example of that, or going into any setting where I'm playing my guitar. And so that said, I had this guy that from a very young age was distilling into me what was important and what wasn't. The interesting thing about the difference between the way I approach teaching and sharing information and the way Joe did was very much of what Joe's approach was. He'd kind of give it to you, but you kind of had to work to massage out some of the details. And it's not like he was withholding it, was just kind of like you had to work for it. I'm much more of the school that, like, you know what, I want to reward people just for showing up. And I want to encourage them to do more than show up. And so in, whether it's church or whether it's in a mainstream, band where some of the people are super committed and some of the other people are not as committed in church. And again, I'm going to go full on church here at this point. We're dealing with volunteers, and we're dealing with volunteers who have varying levels of knowledge and skill, which is totally okay. Not everybody's going to be Hillsong. And honestly, the world would not be a better place if everybody was Hillsong. So with that said, Brian Emilian, good to see you. Thanks so much for hanging out, man. So what are the 5 main things if a guitar player really needed to know some stuff? What would they be? So I've put together a list of things that they are, as is typically the case with me, highly interrelated, but yet at the same time, the thread that separates them and unites them, they're separate things. Note names. The interesting thing from I started really kind of discovering electric guitar around the time I was about 12-ish. And that first moment where you have that, wow, I've learned to take the pentatonic from. Usually, it happens by the second time you learn to solo. You kind of begin to go, wait a second, I can move this pentatonic thing around, and or the same thing that happens with bar chords. You're like. And you begin to move these shapes around. And the very first part of this is you're just kind of like, oh wow, I can move it in different locations. And so, in many ways, it's kind of like I'm gonna without doing any capo shaping. It's actually a funny story. In one of the articles that I wrote for WM, I actually made some comment about the fact that people have a tendency to use the capo at the expense of not learning the note names on the guitar. I'm not the biggest fan of the key of B flat, honestly. But that's not an excuse to just like stick a capo on there and play it as if it's G for me, because I want to be able to have the full range of the instrument. So with that said, the note names allow you to know where you place the different chords, whether they're bar chords, whether they're scales. The note names are very important. And once you kind of get past that, then you get into the scale degree numbers. And this is where this whole triad relationship of being able to map out 1, 2, 3, 4. Hang on, I'm going to mute. Not yet. So the idea of being able to map out the diatonic triad chords 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1. And I realize the guitar is very quiet there. But the idea of understanding that if you take the 7 notes of the major scale and you think of them as, wait for it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, that the 2 is based on the second note. So if we're in the key of G, that's the 2. It's a 2 chord. So if we want to go 2, 5, 1, 6, 3, 5, 7, 1. And so what this now gives you is a framework to be able to be in a car driving, dare I say, to rehearsal, maybe midweek rehearsal, maybe, I like to operate from a place of greater grace than I used to when I was younger. Honestly, when I was younger, I was like, they didn't practice. No, I was never that bad, but I was like, honestly, I was judgmental about it, and that's not cool. Everybody's just kind of doing the best that they can. And I found that you attract a lot more bears with honey than you do with buckshot, right? And you want to encourage people into doing better. You want to love them into it. And, most of the time when you kind of get underneath the surface, you really find out when people aren't committed, it's usually actually that they want to be committed, but there's some other stuff going on that once you kind of get to know them, you can help them through as opposed to judging them without knowing, right? This ministry moment's been brought to you by Jesus. All right, so the point being is having that framework to be able to map those things out is really important. Now, there's this relationship that I'm going through with my students right now where I'm talking about these trajectories. And the first one is really that shape trajectory where you kind of like, I can move the pentatonic around? This is awesome. And I can move the chords around? This is awesome. And that moment of realization where you kind of usually happens sometime right around the second piece of music that uses the same piece, whether it's a pentatonic or a bar chord, and you kind of go, oh. Shortly thereafter comes the road to repetition, because then you start running the path of using those same things over and over in the same common keys. And that's just kind of the way we do it. We learn something and then we have a tendency to repeat it, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And when we first discover it, it's very inspired. Then slowly kind of the excitement fades unless we learn to take it somewhere else and we add to it. So this whole thing of the first level is just kind of this shape-based nature of the guitar. The next one is actually developing the next major revelation is the scale degree number thing. And because that gives you this lens to look at music and go, oh, that's the relationship of the bass notes. Especially in worship, it makes it very easy to be able to go, oh, that's the bass note movement. A minute ago, I alluded to the idea of like being on my way to rehearsal and being able to hear the chord changes. And this is kind of in the background of these first two things, and then the third one, which is the note names, which is to say is like if I'm comfortable with the key of G major, and I can think of instead of it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, and I think of the 3, the 6, the 2, and the 5 as B minor, E minor, A minor, and D major, I'm now expressing that 3, 6, 2, 5 in note names. And that gives me the advantage of having, instead of kind of having this relative relationship, it's a defined relationship. And that means that we're saying, hey, you know, we're in this key. It's not that there's just this relationship between the scale degree numbers. We're saying we're applying this particular key in these relationships at this specific group of 7 notes. And the advantage of that, although we're not going to do what we did last week where we're kind of focusing on this. James Fox, how are you? Good to see you, my friend. Jerry Maxey, hey, what's happening? Is the idea is that although we won't be going over the concept of the pitch axis classically, where it becomes valuable, and it is one of the suggested things I'll recommend going over, is being able to see the major scale and each one of the 7 modes stacked one on top of another on an open string. Now, before I rabbit trail any further, that got us to the scale degree numbers. Next up is the diatonic triad chords and inversions. That is, say, item number 3. And so the concept here, a minute ago, kind of I did. So if I simply took that G major chord, and instead of going GBD, I went BDG. There's GBD, BDG, DGB. That's the G major triad in just normal, uninverted. And then first inversion where I'm putting the 3 in the bass, and then the second inversion where I'm putting the 5 in the bass. And so that concept is really, again, when you start not using the capo, you start taking advantage of the registers. And you all of a sudden take this experience and you kind of go, oh, the blinders are off, right? And so in addition to the triads and inversions, we get to number 4, which is the sus chords. So if this is basically, and I'm going to go back through each one of these and provide some depth of field, but basically this is a G major triad. And it's voiced 1, 3, 5. Jam, what's going on? Good to see you, my friend. Chris, hey, how are you, man? That's voiced 1, 3, 5. A sus2 replaces the 3 with the 2, and as you might guess, the sus4 replaces the 3 with the 4. So the idea of these now being able to add those. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of work up. I'm not going to play the bass notes. Now the interesting thing about that is you can totally hear the bass note movement. I'm going to add it now. And so that freedom to add those other kind of notes on the outside. And honestly, where I got the biggest inspiration from that was Tommy Emmanuel. I was at the Joe Satriani camp, and they had a Tommy camp happening at the same time. What's going on, Dwayne? Thanks for the thumbs up. And I remember watching Tommy, because a lot of the chords that I played, and let me lose the luscious verb of lusciousness, and a lot of the chords that I traditionally have played: major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major. Same thing with 7 chords. And basically what I'm doing is I'm moving up and down the 6th string from the 1 to the 1 an octave up and back down, up and down the 5th string from the 4 up to the 4 back down, and then toggling back and forth between the 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, 6, 4, 7, 5, 1, 6, 2, 7, 3, 1, 4, and so on and so forth, mapping those out diatonically in that common key. The thing about those particular shapes is they are not loose shapes, and so they're first of all, they're lovely sounds, especially if you start kind of, instead of playing the whole shape, selectively playing different mini voicings out of the larger voicings there, you all of a sudden find there's more flexibility. But that's different than what I watched Tommy doing, where he's mixing all these little notes. And this is not intended to be an imitation of Tommy, but it's where kind of the idea of like, hey, and that happens all around. I played a natural 4 there instead of the sharp 4. And it adds breath. It'll help with a little verb. Verb goes a long way, make things betterer. But that kind of piano-like approach, I just watched Tommy going I was like, I have no idea. I know how he's manipulating and playing around the shapes, and it's really that he's not tethered to the shape. So I was kind of like, I've got to learn how to do some of that. And so that for me was a major point of embarkation onto something new. So sus chords. So again, instead of just going 1, 3, 5, it's going 1, 2, 5 or 1, 4, 5. We'll come back to that. Then there's the basic theory behind all of this, which tethers it together. And honestly, again, we're going to go back through each one of these points specifically, but the elements of the basic theory is that the major scale's got 7 tones. Let's kill our friend, the reverb. And if we were to take the C major scale, the notes are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And the relationship to those notes comes from the piano keyboard, where basically you've got a series of black keys and then white keys that don't have a black key in between them. So basically you climb up the key with no sharps or flats, which is the key of C. You go C, D, and then E and F is the first natural adjacent half step that you've got. That is to say, between E and F, there's no black key in it. So you continue up that key. The next spot with no black key in between 2 white keys is going to be B and C, E and F and B and C. So the idea is that gives us our framework of kind of going, all right, C, hold a D, hold a E, half to F, hold a G, hold a A, hold a B, half to C, which we can also think of as 1, hold a 2, hold a 3, half to 4, hold a 5, hold a 6, hold a 7, half to 1. And so those are interchangeable. It kind of gets back to that thing about the arc that I was talking about before, which is like there's this shape thing that happens first, and then all of a sudden we become aware of the scale degree numbers, and then we begin to get much more comfortable with the note names, because scale degree numbers, I can go 1, 4, 5. Or I can go. But if I'm going and I'm playing a blues, by the way, is a mode changing progression. It's not a true 1, 4, 5. It is a moving dominant progression. So I'm basically going A dominant 7, D dominant 7, and E dominant 7. So now I've specifically not only said the relationship of that kind of pseudo 1, 4, 5, but I've actually tied it down to a particular key. Now, one of the great things about thinking about things in terms of numbers, if I want to go, well, okay, pause button. Take a step back, breath. One of the great advantages of just knowing the note names, you actually flip and know the note names. Hello, E minor 7. Let me pull a little bit of the top end back off of that puppy. Give me 1 second. Less presence, less treble. All right. So that's E minor 7, A minor 7, and B minor 7. But I can also think of that as 6, 2, and then 6. I didn't say 6, 2, 3, but it was 6, 2, 3. Now I've just taken that same relationship, 6, 2, and 3. But when I call it D minor 7, G minor 7, and A minor 7, or I call it F minor 7, B flat minor 7, and C minor 7, now I've said a very specific relationship for a very specific key. The advantage of knowing the numbers is, say you show up on Sunday morning and somebody's like, oh, we're going to do it a half step lower. And you're like, ugh. You don't have your chart. You don't have your, maybe you didn't bring your capo because maybe that was a day that all the chords lined up in the perfect key, and all of a sudden, somebody's like, no, I need to do it a half step lower. Or it was in A, and they're like, I need to do it a half step higher. And the piano player, this is great. We're in B flat. And you're like, oh no. So in any case, the idea is kind of having the ability to kind of move between those two gears, if you will, because they're two different ways that are equally valuable and each have their place. So that's kind of where this knowledge about what's going on and being able to think about things in terms of scale degree numbers and note names and scale degree numbers. So the idea of kind of this basic theory is very simple. If you take the C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and think of it again as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, as in 1 hold to 2, hold to 3, half to 4, hold to 5, hold to 6, hold to 7, half to 1. And then you move that down a string, because again, what's great about the numbers, you can just move them around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And if we were to move laterally across the neck and start off with each successive tone, that's where the modes come from. D mixed Lydian, E minor, F sharp Locrian, G major. That is to say the notes are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. G major is G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. A Dorian is A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A. And B Phrygian is B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. And C Lydian is C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. And D mixed Lydian is D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D. And E minor is E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. And F sharp Locrian, as you might have guessed, is F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. We're just starting off of each successive tone. And the neat things by, using note names, we're very specifically nailing it down to a key. Now, the advantage of being able to look at it in terms of numbers is tethered back to where this last little piece of basic theory is going to come from before we go back to the very beginning and we talk more about the note names. And basically, most theory as we describe things can largely be related to and or tethered back to classical ear training. A is a relatively good key for me to embarrass myself in, so I will do that, especially since we're live streaming. Why not? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. That was 1, hold a 2, hold a 3, half to 4, hold a 5, hold a 6, hold a 7, half to 1. And then if I took the Dorian mode, it would go Dorian 2, flat 3, 4. So the idea is you're just comparing each of the modes to the major scale. And basically this kind of comes back to classical ear training. Instead of going 1, 3, 5, you go 1, flat 3, 5, and it's this very standard basic approach of comparing the notes to the notes of the major scale. If they're the same, they're the same. And if they're different, they're different. Hey. And so that's where this kind of slicing and dicing this thing really becomes valuable. So I'm going to go a little bit off the deep end, and then we're going to come back to the note names. But if we were to think about these scale degree numbers right here, as if we sliced and diced the whole neck here, as in this is the 1, hold the 2, hold the 3, half to 4, hold the 5, hold the 6, hold the 7, half to 1. This would be 1, flat 2, 2, flat 3, 3, 4, sharp 4, flat 5, 5, flat 6, 6, flat 7, 7, 1. Going a little bit off the deep end, but this will all make sense. Because if you have a pliable awareness of being able to see that at the flat 2, that if this is my root, if we got a flat 2, you know, no, you're not going to eat my shark. But if you've got this in this movement, that is either potentially the Phrygian mode or the Locrian mode. So that is to say, the modes that have a flat 2 are Phrygian or Locrian. I always like to go up in order so we don't miss anything. Anything with a natural 2 can be potentially major, Dorian, Lydian, mixed Lydian, and minor. Flat 3, Dorian, Phrygian, minor, Locrian. Natural 3, major, Lydian, and mixed Lydian. Natural 4, major, Dorian, Phrygian, mixed Lydian, minor, Locrian. And sharp 4, Lydian. Flat 5, Locrian. Natural 5, major, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, mixed Lydian, minor. Flat 6, Phrygian, minor, Locrian. Natural 6, major, Dorian, Lydian, mixed Lydian. Flat 7, Dorian, Phrygian, mixed Lydian, minor, Locrian. Natural 7, major, and Lydian. So the thing about that is then you can, if you have that, if you will, elemental an understanding of what's happening with each one of those, if you will, intervals as it relates to the tonic, then if you hear a chord that's got, for example, sorry, I'm in E. That's a 1-3 flat 7. And if we wanted to be all specific like that, would be an E, G sharp, B, and a D. And so now we have a way of looking at that collectively and go, oh, that could only, the only mode that's got a combination of a 1, 3, 5, and a flat 7 can only be mixed Lydian. If it happened to be a 1 flat 3, that could have been Dorian, Phrygian, minor, or Locrian. 5, that is Dorian, Phrygian, or minor. And flat 7, Dorian, Phrygian, mixed Lydian, minor, or Locrian. The only one that's the cross section of all of those, that 1 flat 3, 5, and a flat 7 put together, that can be the 2, 3, or 6, the Dorian, the Phrygian, or the minor. And that kind of ability to kind of break things down into the little bits and then start kind of forming those little globules together. It's like Lego. You begin to go, oh, I built a little car. Isn't that fascinating? So that's that. So pulling ourselves back from the abyss here, we're going to go back to the note names. And I get a chance to use my fancy little scenes. But before I do that, let me check in here and say hello again. Awesome. Ohio worked on music for our Christmas concert. Awesome. Did some EQ adjusting on the patches. Excellent. That little bit of the upper mids, as long as you don't make it too much, just kind of like, whoop, there's a guitar. And I'm not necessarily a huge fan of upper mids, especially with faster playing. It can be that. But if you kind of dial it in just enough so it doesn't poke out too much, really kind of makes the guitar all of a sudden apparent. The other thing is, just for pistons and giggles, everything below 100 hertz, pull it out. You don't need it. Okie dokie. Jerry, hey, great to see you as well. Christopher, what a pleasure. Jim, again. Awesome. Hello, Stephen Morley. Good to see you. All right, Brett, wow, I didn't even know all those chords you just read through while calling out the names and numbers. She's feel like such a novice right now. No, don't. And this is the thing. I am a knowledge-hungry, studying animal. Like, I actually was having this great little conversation with my wife, because here's part of this thing. First of all, different people, for better and worse, hunger for different things. Arguably, the one thing that we should hunger for above all things is a personal relationship. And kind of the rest of the stuff after that just kind of has its tendency to fall in place a lot better with that in place. And so, not everybody is a voracious note ingester or expeller, as I am in some cases. But The great thing about this, and the whole point of tonight, is to share this information. So, the idea is that it's just, one of my analogies is like, at a certain point, your parents go, the grass is green, the sky is blue, and you kind of go, oh, okay, you recognize the difference between green and blue. It's as simple as just going, hey, instead of playing these 3-note chords, we're playing 4-note chords. It's literally just kind of going, I've added a 4th note to the chord. Okay, boom. All right, so with that said, let me go to my fancy little scenes here. Where are you? Come here. There we go. All right. There we go. Come on. Where am I? I'm on the wrong window. Hang on a second. That should have gone to... I'm still on the wrong window. I obviously need to be... There we go. Studying more. So the note names. Okay, so we walked our way through that a little bit. So getting back to this kind of slicey dicey thing, then you kind of begin to go, okay, well, what are some of the approaches for getting comfortable with the notes? And which keys should we know? And what approaches might we take? And, kind of what's a logical jumping off place, right? I mean, that's a good thing to know. So first of all, that little exercise where I kind of mapped out, the key of C is the EFBC note location exercise. And I will, in the chat here, add a http://www.gtrmag.info/Doppler lesson plans. And that's there. Let me put that up on YouTube. So give me but a moment. Here we go. And here we go. Come on. There we go. Come here, little YouTube. There we go. Copy. There we go. And let me share that with anybody that's over there on YouTubeville and put that out there. And here we go. And first of all, hello, everybody out there. Brad, what's going on? Good to see you. Not ignoring you, at least not any longer here. And let me go ahead and grab the Doppler lesson plan link. There we go. Shane, look at you. Well indoctrinated. E, have to F, hold G. All right, here's the... no, okay, well, fine. http://www.gtrmag.info/Doppler lesson plans. So what all that business is... hi, Brad. Okay. So what all that business is about is the concept of being able to take the PDF from the Diatonic Theory and Harmony DVD that I did. And there's a bunch of stuff in there. But what Shane was referring to is an exercise that's in there called the EFBC note location exercise. And the concept is you ascend and descend each string while calling out the note names at the same time you play them. Now, why do you want to call the note name at the same time you play them? Because that's synonymous with your finger touching the neck and your brain going, G, B flat, and as opposed to kind of like E, half to F, as opposed to E, half to F, hold the G, hold the A, hold the B, half to C, hold the D, hold the E, half to F, hold the G, hold the A, hold the B, half to C, hold the D, hold the E, hold the D, hold the C, half to B, hold the A, hold the G, hold the F, half to E, hold the D, hold the C, half to B, hold the A, hold the G, hold the F, half to E. A, hold the B, half to C, hold the D, hold the E, half to F, hold the G, hold the A, hold the B, half to C, hold the D, hold the E, half to F, hold the G, hold the A, hold the G, hold the half D, hold the D, hold the C, half the B, hold the A, hold the G, hold the F, half D, hold the D, hold the C, half the B, hold the A. Except for the fact that I broke time there, the idea is you want to do it with an even tempo because that music is played with a tempo. And this is one of the things that a lot of people miss about why metronome practice is so important, is that if you get used to playing things with a meter, regardless of whether it's a chord exercise or a note location exercise, music is played with a meter, such that if the chords are going by and you're like, man, I keep missing this D sharp minor 7 flat 5 there, you can name the chord by its bass note, not just kind of like that thing that's hanging out up there at about the 6th fret. 6th fret is not very specific. The more specific we can be about what is it we're doing or not doing or whatever it is, the better off we're going to be. So being able to call out those note names is a huge help. The other thing is being able to call out the natural notes is a huge help for, in turn, being able to be prepared to do stuff like slicing and dicing the guitar neck. And this is kind of one of the cool things. It's one of my favorite geeky note exercises. It's not on the PDF. But if you see basically this kind of 2 holes and a half, 2 holes, 2 holes and a half, 3 holes and a half, kind of sliced and diced for every one of the open strings, to answer your question, in addition to the key of C, being able to go up and down each one of these strings from the, at least up into the 12th fret, as an E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, D sharp, C sharp, B, A, G sharp, F sharp, E, key of A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, D sharp, it's A, G sharp, C sharp, B, I've lost my mind, A, G sharp, F sharp, E, D, C sharp, B, A, and repeat it, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, G sharp, F sharp, E, D, C sharp, B, A, and then D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, C sharp, B, A, G, F sharp, E, D, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, F sharp, E, D, C, B, A, G. This was fun. B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, A sharp, G sharp, F sharp, E, D sharp, C sharp, B, and E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, D sharp, C sharp, B, A, G sharp, F sharp, and E. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm kind of going, all right, well, there's my 1, which is either going to be E, A, D, G, B, or E. And here's my 2, which for the key of E is going to be F sharp, and for the key of A is going to be a B, and for the key of D is going to be an E, and for the key of G is going to be an A, and for the key of B is going to be a C sharp, and for the key of E again is going to be an F sharp, and the 3 is going to be G sharp, C sharp, F sharp, B, D sharp, and G sharp, and then so on and so forth. All of a sudden, it kind of, you're getting used to just kind of slicing and dicing the neck across the 5 arguably most common keys you're going to play in, right? E, a very obvious, A major, B, I don't think I hit G. So on and so forth. So you get comfortable with navigating those keys, and then your brain, like we talked about, those kind of trajectories, those arcs, you're used to thinking about it, the note names and the numbers and the note names, and all of a sudden you begin to kind of, if you will, kind of become ambidextrous that way. Such that, say for example, we were thinking about the key of E major, E, F sharp, and let's call out numbers. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Let's think about the key of A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And let's think about the key of D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So on and so forth. It all of a sudden opens up the neck with a lot of ability to traverse keys, which honestly, I would have to say, if there was an area where guitar players kind of spend a disproportionate amount of time running around with training wheels, that's it. All right. Scale degree nombres. Oh, hey, hang on a second. Let me check in here real quick. There we go, Shane. It's interstellar that none of these scales have any flats. They're all sharps. That is kind of interesting, isn't it? It obviously speaks to something about the way the guitar is tuned. It's also one of the reasons when keyboardists, and whatever reason, worship leaders who lead from keyboards love keys with flats in them. They just love them. That is a very, very wise little extraction there, Shane. Well done. Paul, hello. But yeah, awesome. Just in case sharp is flat. We're having some fun here. Okay, so let's see here. Let's check in. All right. Hey, what's going on, Leland? How are you? Thanks so much for joining us. Clifford, awesome. Oh, thank you very much. Clifford, for those of you that are over on Facebook, do not know that Clifford is very kindly complimenting the gem here. Thank you much. Appreciate it. And also, by the way, folks, don't be bashful about asking questions. The whole point is that rather than just kind of doing some sort of diatonic dissertation, honestly, the framework of a lot of this comes from two main things, three things. One, kind of the way Joe taught me to look at music. Two, the way that I had to learn to explain music to people. And three, the way that I kind of had to learn to take the sound of music and develop some language such that I could decipher what's happening musically and then kind of make sense of it and kind of in turn have a language that wasn't just an internal language like, oh, that fret. As opposed to like, hey, we're playing this voicing. Maybe if you play this thing, or maybe you don't play the three and I play the three, we can have a conversation. And that's kind of the thing. Years ago, I made this kind of analogy is that my goal was to teach guitar players to think about music the way that somebody who had been used to looking at sheet music for years and years thought about music. And fundamentally, again, when you think about those three different trajectories that people are on, the concept of the shape trajectory, the scale degree number, and the note name. And also, I think I started to mention this, but I didn't finish this. Simultaneously, with all those 3 points of transition, your ear is growing along with you. And that's ultimately the thing is that, there are people that, Phil X is one of those guitar players. I'm 99% positive, though. I've never asked him. He sounds like one of those guys that just spent years and years and years in his bedroom listening to records, pulling the parts off the record and playing them just like the record, which is why he's such a great player. I mean, just like brilliant studio guy, great sense of time, knows what to play, when to play it, and, being the guitar player in Bon Jovi doesn't really, classically suck, just in case, you were thinking it's like there are worse gigs than Bon Jovi, just in case, you might have thought about that. In any case, okay, hey, all right, I think we've got a question here. Tyler Swanson, hello, how are you, man? Depending on the key, they avoid using flats for the names as opposed to sharps because you could bump into having two notes with the same letter and get confusing. All right, so actually that really opens up the door to kind of why we use flats and why we use sharps. Okay. Oh, this is great. Okay. All sorts of questions and comments. All right, so let's back up a step. So here's the deal: is that ultimately, as you look at a kind of, even though they're really kind of one-to-one like this, let's just kind of imagine that they're it's kind of like, you can lead with first of all, it's all about the pitch, and you can either wrap the pitch in the scale degree number first or the note name first. So if you kind of thought about kind of wrapping the scale degree number first, you can kind of think of them as like a zipper where we go boom, and then we're leading with the scale degree number, and then the note name follows after that, and they all mesh. Or maybe you can lead with the note name. I think I got it right now. And that got the pitch, and then it's note name, and then the scale degree number, and then they all mesh like that. So it's they always kind of have this one-to-one relationship. Every time you go up to a new pitch, as long as it's either a half step or a whole step, no further, no less, in the order of 2 holes and a half, 3 holes and a half, or starting somewhere in the midst of that order, you're always going to get the next number and the next note name. So you never, so long as you're kind of ascending and descending in the order of the major scale, you're never going to leapfrog from one note name past another one, nor a scale degree number. And you're never going to have two scale degree numbers. You wouldn't have like a... So earlier I did this thing where I talked about this note, ooh, that was a little pokey. This guy right here, that's the sharp 4 of the Lydian mode. And it's the flat 5 of the Lydian mode, and that's called an enharmonic note. One pitch, 2 different note names, and 2 different scale degree numbers to describe it. Very clearly, that is the 1, 2, 3 sharp 4 of the Lydian mode compared to the 1, 2, 3, 4 of the major scale. And similarly, that is the 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, flat 5 of the Locrian mode compared to the 1, 2, 3 sharp 4 of the Lydian mode. So that means for the Lydian mode, that would be E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp. And for the Locrian mode, that's going to be E, F, G, A, B flat. So it's very orderly. It's not kind of like, well, some of them are like this because, there's some kind of thing that happens when it's a full moon, and you know, basically there will be some keys where you're going to have a B sharp. It happens, but what you know when you're in trouble, because you will not on any of these major scales or any of their related modes, so long as you're starting off the right version of the starting note, you're never going to have a double sharp or a double flat. Nor will you skip a number or note name, or will you double up on a number and note name. And again, that kind of Lydian and Locrian one is a great example of that. So the thing is that so Dwayne, as you were talking about, C sharp is the same and harmonically as D flat. However, in this case, the A sharp and harmonically is the same as the B flat, but for E Lydian, it's functioning as the sharp 4, it's A sharp, and for E Locrian, it's the flat 5 and it's B flat. So, good. Okay, great. Okay, Melissa Doppler, she knows all the answers. My wife is actually a bit of a theory geek. So, all right, good. All right, so to answer your question, Brett, how do you kind of approach going over this stuff? First of all, there's the PDF, and second of all, it's just kind of like it's layered and laid out in an orderly fashion. Because you know, here's the biggest challenge with many guitar players and many guitar teachers, is they don't really have a systematic approach to looking at music and just kind of going, let's just break it apart into the pieces. Because ultimately, we have individual pitches that then get combined into chords. And, you know, those pitches and sequences become scales, and then we pull certain notes out of those little sequences and we stack them together and they become chords. Pretty straightforward. So then it's just a matter of, you know, working on the note names, working on the scales as in pentatonics and modes, and then working on the different chord shapes with the different relays. And the great thing is with the link that I shared with you, you got all sorts of good golden stuff, including the 7 chords, which was those guys, which are basically taking the 1, 3, 5, and 7 of each mode instead of playing it 1, 3, 5, 7, which would kind of be impossible to play those two at the same time. We're taking this G, B, D, F sharp, and we're going G, F sharp, B, and D. And this is a good aside here. Just before I move on to the next thing, because we're here at the note names. Yeah, I'm satisfied with where we're at with the note names. So let's move on to the next one of these guys. So, and let's make sure that we're, you over there. Good. All right, so the scale degree numbers. So as we're thinking about this, we already talked a little bit about this concept of awesome. Thanks, Tyler. Appreciate it. This C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, being basically C, hold a D, hold a E, half to F, hold a G, hold a A, hold a B, half to C. And you can think of that as 1, hold a 2, hold a 3, half to 4, hold a 5, hold a 6, hold a 7, half to 1. And that sequence can be moved around. 1, hold a 2, hold a 3, half to 4, hold a 5, hold a 6, hold a 7, half to 1. And that would be the key of F major. And as we flip that from numbers into note names, it's F, hold a G, hold A, half to B flat, hold a C, hold a D, hold the E, half to F. And so, but right now we're going to focus on the numbers. So if I were to kind of drag that business up there from F to G, and think about that as 1, 2, 3, half to 4, 5, 6, 7, half to 1, because the half steps occur between the 3 and the 4 and the 7 and the 1. If I think about that like that, and I move that up an octave, and same note, G, and I think about it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And then if I were to take, basically starting off that note at G and just going G, A, B, C, D, and starting off this note and staying in that key and going A, B, C, D, E, and B, C, D, E, F sharp, so on and so forth. And instead of playing all those 5 notes, I basically, that's the same as playing that first, third, and fifth there. All right, so the idea is, let me backtrack again. We took this major scale here, which we thought of as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. We can play it up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Because we're going to place chords based off of that. So we just took the notes. Of the major scale, the G major scale in this case, and started off with this note. And if instead of playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we just went 1, 3, 5, that's where these triads come from. And instead of stacking them like that, if I took this chord right here and played it there, compared to this guy, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 3, 5, this guy, as opposed to 1, 3, 5, is 1 flat 3, 5. And so basically, that is the difference between major and minor. 1, 3, 5, 1 flat 3, 5. Major, minor. And then the only one that's different from those babies is that diminished right there, which instead of going 1, 3, 5 or 1 flat 3, 5 goes 1 flat 3, flat 5. And we've got major, minor, and diminished voiced 1, 3, 5, 1 flat 3, 5, 1 flat 3, flat 5. And by, again, stacking them over a common root, we can compare and contrast them. So, with that said, then we kind of go, okay, well, I can see majors 1, 3, 5, minors 1 flat 3, 5. I can see diminished as 1 flat 3, 5. So then some interesting stuff begins to happen as you go up here. And if we, again, think about the modes basically starting on the major scale, like we already talked about it, off of each of its 7 tones, then you kind of begin to go, well, if I had a major triad, that means that major scale's got a 1, 3, and a 5. If I got a minor triad, that means that mode, that second mode, which is Dorian, that's got a 1 flat 3 and a 5, because it has to, those notes that came out of there had to come out of there. So what starts to happen is if you understand what's going on in a chord, it's a little snapshot of the notes of the mode played at the same time. And if you understand the formulas of the chords in terms of the numbers, then you begin to understand things about the formulas of the modes from which they're based. Now, I took a slightly backwards approach, so now I'm going to flip that around yet again. So if I were to take the first 7 notes of the G major scale, and I would take the first 7 notes of the A Dorian mode, that is to say, instead of going G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, I would go A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, and then I go B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, and go C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, so on and so forth. But I took those fingerings and I started them down at G. I end up with major 2, 3. I'm going to go up to the octave major 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Dorian 2, third note of the major scale is there. Third note of the Dorian mode is there, so that's going to be Dorian 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. Phrygian flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. Linear 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Mixed linear 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. Minor 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. Low grade flat 2, flat 3, 4, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. All I'm doing is saying, hey, here's the major scale, and here's the first 3 notes of the Dorian mode. Those first 2 are the same. Third note of the major scale is there. Third note of the Dorian mode is there. It's a flat 3. First 3 notes of the Phrygian mode compared to the major scale, it's got a Phrygian flat 2, flat 3 compared to the major 2, 3. Just all it is. So the neat thing is then you've got a system for comparing the modes to one another, and that's kind of where this whole, all right, which modes have a flat 2? Well, any of them that have a flat 2 have a flat 2. And guess what? Remember we talked about the 2 holes and a half and 3 holes and a half? The modes that have a flat 2 are the 3 mode, because if you think about the distances, you go from the third note of the major scale to the 4th note, that's a half step. If you think about the distance from the first note of the major scale to its second note, or just as you move up the major scale, that's a whole step. So it makes sense that a half step compared to a whole step is a flat 2. So all the modes that have that half step going up to the next spot in the major scale, that is to say the 3 mode, and the 7 mode, as in 1, hold a 2, hold a 3, half to 4, hold a 5, hold a 6, hold a 7, half to 1, those are the modes that have a flat 2. And without throwing anybody completely under the bus, if you are on the upper side of that relationship going backwards, the 4 mode, as we go up kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, the 4 mode has a natural 7 And the 5 mode has a natural, oh, sorry, the 1 mode has a natural 7. And that's because it's a half step from the root of the 4 mode going backwards. And if we're just thinking about 1 over 2 over 3 half to 4, 4 half to 3, well, that's really kind of going from the root of the leading mode to the note right below it. That's the 7th note. That is to say, if I go the leading mode, 1, 2, 3, and compared to the major scale, that's the 4th note of the Lydian mode right there. So that's Lydian 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7. That guy right there is a B, and that's a B right there, and that's a half step from C to B and B to C and so on and so forth. That's a little much for some folks. That's okay. But the point being is that half step relationship is what creates the flat 2 in some modes and creates the natural 7 in others. Simply put. All right. Let's see. This is, sorry, overwhelming bad. Oh, the missus is putting up the link to the DVD. I was not here selling any stuff. Okay. So, okie dokie. So what I'm going to do here is that kind of concludes our scale degree number part. Okay, connecting all the dots. Most important to build off is the learning the major scale. There we go. The modes are now starting points within the scale. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Yes. So the idea. All right. So let's now talk about these triads. And I actually kind of already set that up. So let me go over to my next scene here. Okay, and good. Diatonic, triads, and inversions. So the idea a minute ago, I just kind of showed you where these guys actually come from. All I'm doing is taking the first, third, and fifth. And then I'm playing those notes together at the same time instead of separating them out. And collectively, you can think of that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1. So this guy right here, we already know is the 1, 3, and 5. But instead of going 1, 3, 5, like we talked about when we kind of did the preview, these notes right here are G, B, and D. Instead of going G, B, and D, I'm going to go B, D, and G. And instead of going B, D, and G, I'm going to go D, G, and B. So those guys are the same 3 notes, but played in first and second inversion. And all that means is if there's a 1, 3, and a 5 in the chord, first inversion has got the 3 as the lowest note in the chord, and second inversion has got the 5 as the lowest note in the chord. That's all it means. But the neat thing is that ability to use those inversions. So basically what I did there that was cool, and I'm going to turn on my air conditioner real quick. Give me just 1/2 a second here, because it's getting hot in here. Gosh dang it. All right. So, I'm back. Sorry about that. So if we think about, I'm going to turn on the reverberator here, because I can. Ooh, all pretty like that. All right, so the deal is that if you think, you ever watch the keyboardist and they're just kind of moving a finger or two? They're using inversions, and that's exactly what's happening here. And so that's enabling me to basically play that G major chord that we talked about a minute ago. And then you saw me play those shapes right there. So this is just G major in first inversion, because instead of going 1, 3, 5, I'm going 3, 5, 1. And it doesn't matter whether I'm going 3, 3, 5, 1 or 3, 3, 1, 3 or 3, 1, 3, 5. The most important thing is what's in the bass. That's what makes it first inversion there. So G major with the 3 in the bass, first inversion, and with the 5 in the bass, second inversion. So the deal is those shapes right there are what I'm going to use to outline G, C, D, and C. And then I'm just kind of working with the susses, we'll get to in a moment, playing around basically what's a G major, a C major in second inversion, and a D major in first inversion, going back to a C major in second inversion. And that kind of economy of motion. Let me see what happens when I turn this delay on, see if... And that is one of the things that makes inversions so incredibly powerful, because you just got this one little location, and it's just the same thing that I remember just being in worship, watching, on the worship platform, because obviously I'm like, what are they doing? I'm not too vertical when you're going, how are they doing that? And just watching just them change one or two notes, where literally... I'm just changing two notes, but I'm hanging out just on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string, and I'm affecting a lot of harmonic change, but very subtly. And, that's one of my favorite things about worship guitar is, like, you want to notice it, but you don't want to notice it, but you want to notice it. It's kind of a funny analogy, but for me, that's very true. Okay, Tony Lybrand. What's up, bro? How you doing, man? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Okay, Brett, I know the scales and the modes, but connecting all the numbers, especially in relation to the chords and the intervals that create all the chord theory, is confusing to me. I've never found a teacher who can explain the way that makes sense to me. It's frustrating. So the great news, Brett, follow that link, and it's totally there. So literally, major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And those notes are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G for the key of G major. And you simply start off the G note and you play across the neck and go G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. You start off the A note and go A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A. You start off the B note and go B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D. You start off on the C note and go C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. Start off the D note and go D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D. The E note and go E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. There's E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. And then the F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. I think I only did E in one octave. And then G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. And that's the G major. A Dorian, B Phrygian, C Lydian, D mixed Lydian, E minor, F sharp, Locrian, and G major scales. It's that simple. Now, if I were to take the major scale and its relative Dorian mode, and instead of playing them as they relate to one another, we drag that Dorian mode down So it's superimposed over the major scale. Okay, good. Okay, cool. It was the deeper stuff. So all then we're doing is we're going, hey, I'm going to take the 1, 3, 5 of that major scale. I'm going to build that chord. I'm going to take the 1 flat 3 5 of the Dorian mode, build that chord. The 1 flat 3 5 of that, so on and so forth. Then, thanks Tony. And then if I take the 1 3 5 7, that's where that major 7 chord comes from. And the 1 flat 3 5 flat 7, that's where that minor 7 chord comes from. And the 1 flat 3 5 flat 7, minor 7, 1 3 5 7, major 7, 1 3 5 flat 7, 1 flat 3 5 flat 7, minor 7, 1 flat 3 flat 5 flat 7, minor 7 flat 5, and 1 3 5 7. And collectively, I'm thinking that as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1. So if our chord progression goes 3, now I wouldn't normally go to the major 7 chord there, but that's our 4. 2 chord, basically the Dorian chord. 5 chord, 1 chord. Chord, 3 chord, 2 chord, 5 chord, 1 6 3 4 3 2 1 7 4 5 6 7 1. That's kind of that. Awesome. Thanks, bro. Okay. Good. All right. So with that said, let's see. Okay. All right. So moving on to our next item of business, sus chords. So instead of basically going through these triads here, which are basically taking the 1, 3, and 5, we can take the 1, 4, 5, and the 1 sharp 4, 5, and the 1, 4, and the flat 5. And instead of going 1, 3, 5, we can go 1, 2, 5, which is literally again instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're going to go 1, 2, 5. right, so I was mixing different chords in there, but the point being is that there's one. That doesn't sound great on its own. That's because it's a 1 flat 2 5. So that's why on certain ones. So I'm gonna go. So what I did there was I basically went the 1 chord, which is 1 3 5, just major, and then the sus2, replacing the 3, and back to the major, and then I went up to the 3 chord, minor chord, sus4, minor instead of going. Okie dokie. So that's sus chords. Let's see. How can you get the most? Okay, hang on. Wait. Hello, Pedro. How are you, man? How can you get the most out of the Line 6 112 amplifier? Pedro, do me a favor. Let me just finish up the topic, but do me a favor. Be more specific with your question. I'll be happy to answer that. So, Tyler, yes, so exactly. So, let's imagine that you can think of, you got chicken, beef, and fish. Major, minor, and diminished. I hope I didn't insult anybody by calling the fish the diminished chord, but you got 3 main types of chords, major, minor, and diminished. And then you can add those other numbers of the scale to flavor. And basically, I'm just thinking 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, 7, and 1 chord. And I can add any of the other numbers from, so for example, let's see, here's if I go, there's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the 1. I can do the same thing into 2. At the 3. Not doing a very good job there. Oh, sorry, I left out the flat 6. And you can add those. And now you're just kind of being a piano kind of player where you're just moving those chords around, right? I should say you're moving the notes around inside. So on and so forth. Hello, Nolene. What's going on, Mama Nolene? My mother-in-law's on. Hey, how cool. What's going on, Jeff? How are you, man? Welcome aboard. Nice to see you. All right, let's see. Good. All right, so in so doing, now we've added those sus chords in there, and then we kind of use that as a springboard to kind of talk about the other things. I'm sorry, should I have been given a more formal introduction to my mother-in-law? My mother-in-law, Nolene Ongley, is on the stream tonight. Thanks so much for joining us all the way from Australia. Hello, Mum. Hope you're doing well. We'll talk soon. Awesome. All right. Let's see here. Dwayne, circle of fifths have always been good for visual reference. Awesome. Okay, so back to this basic theory, and honestly, hang on. Scene change. There we go. All right, so we've honestly, now that we kind of wrap all this stuff together, as I've kind of talked through the idea of, we started with our triads. And then if you kind of drag each one of those modes down to G, you can see how they're alike, how they're different, and we start adding the different numbers in there. So instead of going 1, 3, 5, I can go 1, 4, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 6, 1 flat 3, 5, 1, 4, 5, 1 flat 3, 5, 1 flat 3, 6, 1 flat 3, 5, 1, 4, 5, 1 flat 3, 5, 1 flat 3, flat 6, 1, 3, 5, 1 sharp 4, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 6, 1, 3, 5, 1, 4, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 6, 1 flat 3, 5, 1, 4, 5, 1 flat 3, 5, 1 flat 3, flat 6, 1 flat 3, flat 5, 1 flat 3, sorry, 1, 4, flat 5, 1 flat 3, 5, 1 flat 3, flat 6, 1, 3, 5, 1, 4, 5, 1 flat 3, 5, sorry, 1, 3, 5, 1, 4, 5. Yeah, that was a flat 5, 1, 3, 5, not intended to be. 1, 4, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 6. So the idea is we're just using the numbers in the key. And so there, kind of what I'm doing is I'm just adding that D there to add some flavor. No, that's not what I wanted to do. What did I want to do? There we go. I want to go there. And again, that's kind of that hearing things. You kind of like. That was the note I wanted. Okay. All right. Yes. Oh, Tyler, with great pleasure. Awesome, dude. Yes, the inversion thing. It's and adding those little notes just kind of that are right in there that are just right next door and being able to just kind of flip around between that. It's pretty special, and it's one of my favorite things. And as you pointed out, it you can choose a particular register. Like if I play down here, it starts to get a little murky with that much verb, but I can kind of. As a matter of fact, the interesting thing is a lot of. And it brings up an interesting point. It's just like you don't always have to hit all the notes. That's kind of one of the things. Like as guitar players, let's turn on all the pedals and hit all the notes. You know that. And all I'm doing there is I'm taking the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, and the 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm adding the 3. And I'm about to have a light bulb moment for somebody, so somebody put on their seatbelt. I'm basically just going G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G, and at the same time I'm going B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, and B. And at the same time I'm going C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. I'm going E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, and E. And that's basically this whole concept of diatonic harmony. We're just basically moving up the scale. Playing thirds. But an octave apart. And then again, if I think about this as the 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, 7 chord, and the 1 chord. So I can go 4, 3, 2, 5, 3, 2. Sorry, that's right. That's 4, 3, 2, 5. Actually, are we good? Want to go to that guy? Ah, it's a 7. And so kind of I did this little, and basically I'm going 4, 5, 3 against the 5. I'm playing basically the 5, 6. Sorry, if I'm thinking about the D mixing, I'm thinking about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1 of D mixed linears compared to the major scales, how I come up with that flat 7 business. But I'm basically going. So that's basically 4, 5, 3. idea is the notes begin to start suggesting themselves. David Falsgraf, how are you? I owe you an email. My apologies. I've been a busy boy, but not too busy. And yeah, it does sound like Blackbird Shane. So, but the great thing about that kind of harmony is it really just, the notes start to suggest themselves. Like I was like, sorry, I hear the 7, flat 7, flat 7, the 4, 5, 3. If I can play it right. All right, so just because it's in key doesn't mean it's always going to sound good. And that's the flat 2. It's up an octave there. That sounds a lot prettier than... Now, there's some people that might like that. And if I approach that... so I kind of created... Well, accidental harmonic. That was kind of fun. Jared, hey, what's going on, my man? Thank you so much. What a pleasure. All the way from Australia. And I take it you're in Australia, staying busy, remotely scoring remotely, something. There we go. Awesome. Great to see you. Thanks so much. So Jared is a master scorer for strings and a brilliantly talented musician. Done a bunch of stuff with, dare I say, this certain Australian outfit named Hillsong, but a brilliant guy, lovely human being, great musician. Boy, all sorts of people are hanging out. Ditto, David Falsgraf. You guys kind of need to know each other. So, all right. Let me check in and see if anybody is hanging out over there with any comments here. No. In YouTube land. With that said, I'm about ready to wrap things up. I think we have gone through the 5 points. You guys have been absolutely phenomenal. Tyler, with great pleasure, thank you for the feedback. The best thing about this, stuck in Melbourne working on some orchestration at the moment. Thanks, brother, with great pleasure. Tyler, the whole thing that's great about this, kind of in closing-ishness, is that the heart of what we do is about raising people up, right? And sharing that that whatever it is that, it's musical discipleship. And the great thing is, there are things that we can express through music and the notes and the way the math and the sound, and it does things that you're like, it's special. And sometimes the less is more, that the root and the third up an octave there, you're just like, oh, and then all of a sudden you start to hear room for the other notes to start to, as a guitar player would do, fill some space back in. But until you take some of that stuff away, you don't have the opportunity to hear the things that you can begin to add in. So we'll call it subtractive diatonic theory. I don't know. I'm having fun here. That's me joking around. But the idea of being able to kind of share this is kind of the unfortunate thing is that not everybody, on a worship team has somebody that can kind of put them on their shoulder and kind of go, hey, this is kind of the diatonic numbers. This is how all this stuff works. And we don't always have the time to do that, right? Sometimes, and right now the whole thing is strange. But the point being is that rhythm of being able to share the inspiration, that divine inspiration of where God touches us, and being able to share that with other people that's the special part, because it's through that musical discipleship, there's a transformation process that's happening. It's first of all, to present what you know to somebody else and give to them freely. It puts you in a place of one, being forced to give of yourself, which is a great place to live. Two, of being forced to be confronted, and I go through this, and I'll freely admit it. There are times I go, am I going to run out of goods? And God always shows up and is so faithful. And it's like, hey, I got the download for you. And, quite honestly, if I were really truthful with you in this season, I go into Tuesdays not knowing what I'm going to work on. And we're coming into a season where we're going to make a little bit of a left-hand turn here. We're going to start bringing some of the worship people that are influencing the train of thought in the house of worship from the guitar perspective. But I wanted to get things on the tech end a little bit more dialed, and so I pulled my foot off of the gas a little bit and tapped the brakes a little bit. Just kind of went, let's just get all the tech stuff nice and dialed. But at the same time, it allowed me to kind of, first of all, what's neat is all the people that are here. I've had a chance to serve you in a very personal way, and that's really important to me. Because it's more than just kind of like getting somebody that that you might want to hear talk about why they don't use a Strymon pedal anymore and they're now using a Kemper. Whatever, not that you need to stop using a Strymon and start using a Kemper. That's not my point. The point being is that the goal here has been to really take it upon myself to serve you in some ways, that just having somebody that is influential come on. Hopefully it's just different, I guess is a good way of saying it. But it's been intentional, and so the neat thing is that this process is therapeutic, and it's something that we don't always have time for on worship teams, and it's the heartbeat of what Worship Musician is about. This is an extension of the magazine, and it's just a pleasure to be able to serve you and hang out like this. Let me take a look at, I saw something sneaky in here. All right, hang on a second. There we go. Dwayne, thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Brett, all the money I've I've spent on learning theory, and I still don't understand it. Should have spent it on more guitars and gear than just enjoyed playing more. It's a balance. Here's the thing is that you've got the PDF there. It spells it all out, which is great. It's really we went to great lengths to kind of go. Make it clear, make it straightforward. Promise you. Tony, feeling a healing effect from that progression, no kidding. You didn't come here by accident, my friend. You always bring the beauty to the practice, Doug. Thank you so much. That's a lovely thing to say, by the way. Aw, that was great. Take care of my brother. Ditto. Brother from another mother. And yes, as Melissa pointed out, Worship Musician Magazine, worshipmusician.com. It's a free thing, and we give it away. Pretty cool. All right, gentlemen and lady, thank you so much for hanging out. Really, what a pleasure. This is such a blessing to be able to do this, and I wish you an amazing week. And who knows what we'll work on next week, but God always shows up and goes, hey, do this. So I just want to thank you for hanging out. Have an amazing week, and God bless. Take care. Thank you so much.